If you're watching this channel, the chances are that you agree that we need to transition the world away from fossil fuels and onto cleaner alternatives. It's also pretty likely that you're primarily interested in battery electric vehicles, and maybe a few of you are interested in hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles too. But while the number of vehicles available on the market around the world has increased in recent years and the capabilities of new electric vehicles are far beyond what they were a decade ago, we're still struggling with one simple key thing: affordability. It's true that electric vehicles have dropped in price compared to a decade ago. For example, you can now find an electric vehicle that retails for under $25,000 or equivalent if you're in a market that offers incentives for purchasing an EV, and also if you're eligible for the same. But it's also true that these vehicles aren't always comparable to what you'll get from a similar amount of money with an internal combustion engine in a similar segment if you just look at the two different sticker prices. And while yes, over the lifetime of a vehicle, electric vehicles now cost far less in most markets to own and maintain than petrol ones, it's often the sticker price that push people into making purchase decisions, usually because they're unable to amortize the excess sticker purchase price over the lifetime of their vehicle ownership. Which is why in the last couple of weeks, the market launches of two new plug-in hybrid models from Ford and Toyota are well worth paying attention to. And because of their place in the market, compact crossovers, and their MSRP, the $35,000 to $40,000 mark, I think these vehicles have the potential to do a whole lot of good, at least if what we're seeing on paper is confirmed after driving. That caveat exists because, I'll admit, I haven't had a chance to drive either of them yet. Look, I get it. Electric vehicles are preferable to plug-in hybrid vehicles. After all, it's always going to be better to have zero tailpipe emissions than a reduced tailpipe emission. And any plug-in hybrid will result in more tailpipe emissions than a purely electric vehicle over its lifetime. And personally, I am always going to choose an electric vehicle over a plug-in hybrid because there are electric vehicles that I can afford that fit my requirements, and I also happen to live in a part of the United States with great public charging infrastructure. But not everyone has a vehicle on the market that fits their needs with an all-electric drivetrain. And not everyone lives near lots of public charging infrastructure. Of course, in an ideal world, we'd see each automaker offer an entirely electric fleet, install comprehensive charging infrastructure to make us charging stations as ubiquitous as petrol stations. But right now, we don't have that, which is why these two new vehicles are so important. Let's take a look with the standpoint that these are vehicles that could get people plugging in who would otherwise not want to or be able to. So let's examine why these two models in particular seem to offer more than the meagre few miles or so that many plug-in hybrids have traditionally offered, which would have turned them into compliance cars. Oh, and I should note here, in case you're listening instead of watching this video, that I am going to put up metric conversions on screen. So keep your eyes peeled for them if you prefer things in metric. First, there's the 2020 Toyota RAV4 Prime. Yes, I know, it's Toyota, a company that's not really done a whole lot for plug-in vehicles and has actively campaigned against them. And yes, in the past, we've had two different generations of all-electric RAV4s. I personally wish that we'd have another one. But for now, this plug-in hybrid has been rated by the US EPA with a fuel economy of 94 miles per gallon equivalent combined. It offers a range of up to 42 miles of electric driving when fully charged. It also starts at just under $40,000 before incentives and including mandatory destination and handling charges. Then there's the 2021 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, a vehicle that's sold in some markets around the world as the Ford Kuga plug-in hybrid. It's also just been rated in the US, this time with 100 miles per gallon equivalent in all-electric mode and 37 miles of all-electric range. It too has an MSRP that's far lower than some all-electric models in the same segment, compact crossovers, with a starting price of $35,000 before incentives in the US. But Nikki, I hear you say, the Chevrolet Bolt EV starts at $37,500, $27,500 if you take into account GM's current cash-on-hood savings. The Tesla Model 3 starts at just under $40,000. There are other plug-in hybrids too that offer similar functionality for less price. What about the Mitsubishi plug-in hybrid? That has rapid charging too and costs about the same as Ford. And you'd be right for all of the above. But I'm going to go through all of those reasons and explain why I don't think they're a big deal. The Bolt EV is a great car. I own one, but it's not a crossover. It's a tall hatchback for sure, but it's not particularly big when it comes to cargo space. It has just 17 cubic feet of space, whereas both the Ford and Toyota plug-in hybrid manages about 34.4 and 37.6, respectively. That's a whole lot larger. And unlike some plug-in hybrids of the past, including Toyota's Prius Prime, the load bay area in the RAV4 Prime's load-carrying ability isn't impinged by the battery pack. Both of these cars are also larger vehicles than the entry-level EVs that come in at a similar price point. And that's a great bonus for families looking for an efficient, low-emission vehicle that can carry all their stuff. And yes, while Model 3 is available at nearly the same price as the entry-level Toyota RAV4 Prime and $5,000 or so more than the entry-level Ford Escape PHEV, Model 3 is a premium mid-size car. And these two new plug-in hybrids are compact SUVs. Many people prefer SUVs. In fact, the market for compact and mid-size SUVs is growing, placing both of these options right at the heart of what consumers are buying, whether the car has a plug or not. The Mitsubishi P HEV, well, while it does have rapid charging, it's showing its age in terms of its battery size, range per charge, and overall efficiency. And with just 22 miles of all-electric range, it's not going to be capable of doing many daily commutes on a single charge to and from home without switching to petrol. That, in case you were worried, averages out to about 16 miles per direction for most people, so a 32 miles round trip for your work commute. So there you have it, two new plug-in hybrids with decent range that puts them well beyond the compliance car qualifications, and that means they should be good enough to get many people driving on electric power for most of their daily driving needs. And they're models which customers are already fairly familiar with. Sure, battery electric cars would be better, but if these cars, which are plug-in hybrid versions of high-volume popular cars, get more people plugging in than would otherwise do, and they cost less than most new electric cars on sale right now, well, that's a good thing, and I think we should celebrate them. As for how they drive, well, we're going to have to wait until each of these are on a press fleet, and then, yes, I'll be testing them for sure. That's it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.